Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I'm your host Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
We finally get to see Squad Zero in action. This is fucking sick.
It is pretty cool actually seeing them do something aside from just talking to our main characters. We start off with something a little bit different though. In the beginning of the episode, Joe, we see a little flashback.
I love this. This is all new content, Joe. A lot of people were like, holy shit, what does this all mean? Because there are a lot of symbolisms going on in that, 5-minute intro.
There are a lot of symbolisms going on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with eyes, which obviously eyes aren't important whatsoever. It's not like the main high-up character has anything to do with that. But we do see a little bit of that between Yuha and Ichibe, and I don't quite understand what was going on. It seems like Yuhaba, he had the two pupils in his eyes, but then Ichibe had like a hand that could also open into a double pupiled eye, and it had like abilities, and also it was like the Soul King's arm. I don't know what was going on.
People are breaking this down now because this is new information that we didn't get. But yeah, so you see Yuha a bit younger, and it looks like Ichibe's coming over. I guess this is maybe when war was starting or whatever. I don't know, but they tried to handle it diplomatically, and you see that Yuha's like, no, I'm not doing this. And you get a little bit of background. Well, I guess a big reveal that Yuha is the son of the Soul King, because he calls him father.
Right.
And you also find out with Yuha kind of a little bit about the world, that it used to be all one world, and then something happened and it split into Soul Society, World of the Living, and Wakamundo. And there's definitely a lot of religious god themes, and they do call the Soul King a god, but I feel like we're almost learning religion of the world a little bit.
It's like the legend that Kubo has crafted. It's like the mythology for Bleach. I'm very much into Norse mythology, so the idea of getting something like this, where it's like the world was once one thing, and then something, whether that was the Soul King or some climactic event, came about and split this singular world into the three worlds that we know today. That stuff is cool, and I like it a lot. I'm curious about what Ichigo knows about the Soul King, because it seems like all he knows is that the Soul King exists, and that he is like a foundational element of the three worlds that exist as they are right now. Because when Ganju or Hime, I don't know, someone brings up when they're in the flying dildo going up to the Soul Palace, theorizes that Yuha might be trying to kill the Soul King, take his powers or take his place, sort of a thing. And Ichigo's just I don't know about that. The Soul King isn't really a person like you and me. He's kind of like this elemental force at this point. He doesn't say that, but that's kind of the vibe I get, because I think he says he's foundational in how all the worlds work. So I'm curious what he knows and understands about the Soul King, because it seems like all he knows about it came from the flashes that he got when he was doing the training in the stupid infinite hallway. It just brings to mind what Ichibe said to him, or said about him when he was doing the infinite hallway training. And then he had the 47 different glowing energies flowing into him. And he's like, are you a vessel that can hold the Soul King, sort of a thing? And I was like, what? Why'd you say that? Does the Soul King need to have an avatar? Does it need to have a body to inhabit, sort of a thing? If it wants to enact its own will? I don't know. I'm intrigued by it though. I have questions and I have ideas in my head that I think would be really cool for the show to explore. That being one of them, but I don't know if that's what this show is interested in doing. I don't get the feeling the narrative of this arc is really interested in fucking around with what I would like to fuck around with. And I
think you'll be surprised.
Okay. I hope so.
It might take a while, but I think you might be surprised.
Okay. Again, I really do hope so, because I have so many...
The lore is good.
I believe you. I would like to see more of it. I would like it to be introduced organically as the series go. When things happen, when I say things happen, when I don't know, characters are fighting or something like that, and then an ability gets revealed, that something happens in a certain way, and you're just why the fuck did it happen this way? And then it's later revealed, oh, it's this, the fucking Attack on Titan, and the end of season 3 or whatever it is, when the owl is just you have to protect Mikasa and Armin. I want stuff like that. in this, where it like recontextualizes certain moments and you're like, oh, so that's why you're able to do this sort of thing. Like, I feel like we have some stuff in the show already like that. Like, for instance, the fact that Ichigo is like the holy fucking spirit because he's part everything in this universe. And it might have been intended from the start that he was always meant to be this way, but it still feels more like a convenient retcon than like you had laid careful breadcrumbs that actually suggest he is one of every, not species, one of every, not ethnicity, one of everything in this universe. And I just feel like Bleach isn't the type of thing to do that. So I don't know, I feel like I just have like higher expectations now from other things that I've seen. And especially because like it's taken so long to come out. We had like the 10-year hiatus, so many other things have had the chance to iterate on stuff like Bleach, and like Bleach has been a heavy inspiration for a lot, and I mean like a lot of manga and anime. So it's like they have had the chance to take those ingredients and integrate them into other things and do them better, or at least do them differently, and in some cases in ways that I find more interesting. And I'm just like, can they cook it up right though? Or like, can they cook it up better for me, specifically this viewer, not the other viewer? Fuck the other viewers. I don't care about new manga readers. I want what I want.
You will see. We will see.
Jumping out of like the mythology section and back to what's actually happening. Yeah, it's like peace talks that Ichibe has come to, well, Yuha, but like I don't actually know where they are, whether they're still in Soul Society or whether they're in their own little pocket dimension that the Quncies end up being in. I'm not sure. Either way, it seems like Ichibe is being a smug little shit and is like, all right, here are the equal terms of our surrender. And Yuha is not a fool and is like, everything that you just suggested that I do for these quote-unquote peace talks, he's gonna get dicked over in every way. But he's like, no. You're not pulling the wool over my eyes. I'm not doing this. Ichibe is just like, don't say my name. Don't do it. And Yuha's like, I'm gonna do it. And Ichiba's like, oh, don't do it. And Yuha does it. And Ichiba's like, okay, time for a spanking. Oh, and he takes his eyes or some shit with the special hand. I don't know what the fuck happens, Joe.
Yeah, I like getting to see Ichibe's powers a bit. I also like seeing those other Stern Ritters there. Also, little like detail thrown in. If you remember when Yamamoto was using his Bankai on Yuha, and Yuha saw one of his fellow comrades from the dead, he actually appears in this episode. He's one of those Stern Ritters.
Oh, okay. I did not notice that. That is a great detail to catch on to, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I thought that was a really great thing to add. And yeah, Ichibe, he leaves. It makes it look like he stole this eye power Yuha had. Whatever it's called or what it is. Ichibe's like, you tried to use that bad, so I'm taking it away from you for the rest of your life. I don't really know what the power is.
Yeah, it seems like it's related to the Soul King in some way, because that's the only other being that we know that has multiple irises in his eye. Yuha being confirmed his son, that would make sense that he would also have some form of that ability, but it is very intriguing. We gotta learn more about Ichibe. I'm interested to see more about him and how he fits into everything else.
After all of that with the flashback, we get back to modern times in the Soul Palace, and Yuha's up there, and Yuha got that stank face. He's like, ugh, God, I hate this place.
Yeah, also, a detail I don't think I ever noticed because the lighting that Yuha was always in, I didn't realize his eyes and his cape were red. And that's interesting to me, because every other Quincy, like, aside from, like, little accents of colors or whatever, you know, they might be wearing, just to distinguish them as, like, their own unique Stern Ritters, Quincy's are white and blue. And Yuha, like, he's got the white uniform underneath, but he's also shrouded in red. Like, red is a Soul Reaper color, based on his lineage and all this sort of stuff. Like, it kind of makes sense to me now. Like, you know, comes from the Soul King. Who his mother is, I have no idea. But it's just interesting to me, that little color choice.
I'm so happy. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, not that I dislike the red sky, but now I'm like, okay, really, like, bright colors of Bleach and seeing, like, Squad Zero in action. I really enjoyed, like, all of this episode. I thought it was great. Obviously a little confusing, but seeing Squad Zero kind of flex a little bit was pretty cool.
I have thoughts on things, as I often do. The Squad Zero fight versus the other Stern Ritters. I was going to say it's mostly the Royal Guard, but there's also one extra guy. He has 2 tongues. He's an airbender. It doesn't matter. He dies very quickly. It's a cool fight. I like the stuff that goes on. It's not super engaging. Like, there's nothing that's really going hog wild here. Animation isn't crazy, but it is fun seeing how some of these people fight. Mostly Nemaya. It's mostly Nemaya, but it is cool just seeing how, like, the science lady, whose name I still don't remember, but she's called the Great Weaver. I know that one. I like her when she comes in and she's got, like, I guess this reality altering ability where she can, like, put up woven barriers or whatever that make it look like you're in one place, but in actuality you're in, you know, a different place or whatever. And then she can also, like, sew crap into your clothes and then make them explode into, like, spikes and needles. That's how the 2-tongue guy dies, but it doesn't matter because we don't give a shit about him. And then Yuha summons his royal guards, and he's just like, alright, royal guards, fuck him up. And at first, I like X. X's design, cool as fuck. I love the tattoo over the eye. I like how he's like a ghillied up soldier when he takes off the cloak.
I was gonna say, he's awesome. I absolutely love him. I don't know much about him. I honestly forgot about these characters. I only know a little bit about them. But his design is pretty badass.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought his gun looked a little dumb, but I mean, it's distinct. So maybe it would have grown on me if he wasn't killed off, like, immediately. Which is something that I want to talk about as well with, like, all this stuff going on here. We're introduced to 4, because one of the Royal Guard guys we've seen before. He's like the knockoff. He's another knockoff Aizen looking dude.
His name's Ashton or something like that. Askin, that's it. And which is funny because it is close to Aizen.
Yeah, he's asking what the fuck is his purpose in this narrative because now he's gone. Anyway, 5 Sternritters, Wind Boy, and then the 4 elite Royal Guard that Yuha brings in. All of them killed. Most of them killed by Nemaya. I'm happy because I'm like, okay, we're not splitting time here being like we're going to spend episodes dealing with all these other guys. But then also, I don't know, it just feels like the Sternritters they're not really much of a threat anymore. Like, now that we're at this level, it's kind of just like, these are the pawns, we're currently all fighting with queens, they don't stand a fucking chance. Like, Nemaya just uses his weird jelly sword and obliterates them all, which is cool, and I appreciate, because I fucking hate most of the scenes with Nemaya. He's just agitating to me, I don't like him. Except when he's wielding a sword. Then he's cool as fuck. I just can't listen to him.
He was awesome in this. I loved seeing him in action. And the sound effects for his movements were awesome as well. Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of these other characters. But still cool. I kind of like the, you know, the intensity of it. Of like, look, people are dying left and right. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I just wish it didn't make everything feel so... It makes the characters feel, like, inconsequential, where it's just like, we're just going to introduce these guys, and then 10 minutes later, they're going to be dead. Okay? I don't feel bad about it in the same way that I felt bad in March of the Zombies when they just killed Gigi, where it was like you were building this character up, and now they're just gone, and it's kind of like, oh, I thought there was going to be some more stuff here. This kind of blows. And it's also not like you're not at least wasting too much of my time being like, look! New characters, and then they're all fucking dead, and you're just kind of like, oh, well, we only spent, like, 7 minutes with these guys, so it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of like, it's fine. Also, Yuha just, they're in the branch cage. It makes sense if you watch the show. Yuha chucks his badge out of the cage, and then just, it's like another fucking Pokeball thing. He just appears where that thing was, and I'm just like, okay? And I like Ichibe, it's just like, you've gotten out of the cage. Impressive. I'm like, dude, there are so many holes in this cage. And I understand, like, the branches would grow and keep you trapped in there wherever you went. I listened to Grain King's explanation. Okay, settle down there. But I don't know, I just feel like that didn't seem particularly clever. It was, he just chucked the thing and then he transported it out and he was like, yep, I did it. Can Hashwalt and Uryu also not do that? Is it because you have, like, special blood? Because you're, Soul King descendant? But then Uryu should have it if it is your blood, because he drank your blood. These little, like, nitty gritty, what did I say before? The nitty titty details? That was a thing I said at one point.
Nitty titty.
Yeah. These, like, the nitty titty details that I really just kind of like, but what about this, though? Writer, but what about this, though? And then he's like, shut the fuck up and just watch the show.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. At the end of the day, I'm like, it looked cool. It was kind of badass. I was like, that was pretty unique. But Joe, one thing I completely forgot happened. We get a lot of time actually with our boy Ichigo.
We do. We cut to the laboratory and we see Ichigo and Yoruichi, Orihime, and Chad. This is a test to make sure I stole everyone's names. And then Ganju comes in on his boar, the lovable bimbo that he is, and he's just like, hey, I'm coming up with you guys. I am the self-proclaimed expert on the Soul Palace. And I'm just like, you're a brick. There is no way you have information on this thing. He gets in the rocket, Kisuke blasts them off, and then, sure enough, he doesn't know fuck all about the Royal Palace.
Yeah, love that. It was a good little moment of nostalgia. And I just liked seeing them all together. And I love hearing Ichigo talk and how, like, just his character. Ichigo's a good guy. He's just a good dude.
He is your standard anime shonen protagonist. He's just a good guy, alright? He might have a bit of a tood, but he's a good guy. So they're currently blasting off like Team Rocket. The Stern Ritters are facing off against Squad Zero, getting ready to do that stuff. And yeah, episode ends with the face down between Ichibe and Yuha, and it promises to be an interesting fight between not only them, but then also Squad Zero and Hashwalt and Uryu. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah, we got the big hour-long finale to talk about next week, and then we don't talk about Bleach for a while.
I'm gonna miss it, but at that point we'll be halfway through, so...
That's absurd. That's crazy.
Yeah, but aside from that, everyone, hope you've been enjoying Bleach just as much as we have. A good, solid episode. We're rushing towards the halfway point here, but it's coming. We can't stop it. Don't try. Seriously, please don't try. I really want to see what happens next. So I would really appreciate it if you didn't do that. Okay, thank you. Love you. And always remember, we'll love you, we'll leave you, and goodbye.